Hi, my name is Monkma Eugenio and I'm a sophomore and this is my ceramics final. I selected ceramics because mainly I need my art credit, but I also wanted to try a new medium of art. I've tried painting and drawing before, but not anything like ceramics. The first project that we worked on was the name tile. The process I did to construct my name tile was to first think of things that describe me and to sketch it out. I presented my name on the top left corner of my tile with bubble letters. I also kept it simple and only used my nickname and not my full name. The different levels of elevation were all the extra details I added, and my name. Those include the shells, beach, and turtle. The textures I chose were the wood one and the shell looking one. To have a project done means that you added all the extra parts you created, and to have it finished means that everything is smooth, there are no cracks, and all the parts are slipped and scored correctly. After all the practicing we did, I chose to do all underglazes. I chose to do that because it's my first project and I wanted to play it safe, and I would know what to expect when the glazing was done. The details that I added resemble me because I grew up living by the beach and it reminds me of my childhood. The second project that we worked on was the imaginary friend. What inspired my creature was choosing 3 different animals with different elements. The elements that made it original were the body of a panda, head of an otter, and the beak of a toucan. There is no specific narrative to the imaginary friend, I just chose 3 animals that I liked. The construction was different from the name tile because instead of slipping and scoring, I had to insert all the parts of the creature. The underglazes I chose were teddy bear brown, white, bright orange, and bright yellow. It is important to wipe the bottom of your creature so that it doesn't get stuck to the kiln or shell. What was challenging about this project was trying to make sure all of the parts were connected together so they didn't fall out. The successful aspects of this project was being able to bring all the important elements of each animal together. The third project that we worked on was a pumpkin with a spooky surprise. Some tips to creating pinch pots are to make sure the interior isn't too thick. I created the ridges with a wood meddling tool. I created the carved out face of my pumpkin with the X-Acto knife. The process I made to make sure the interior of my pumpkin was just as smooth as the exterior was to use a sponge and smoothing room to make it as smooth as possible. The processes that were used to make the web was the black underglaze and the Sgraffito tool. We used the black underglaze as a base for the web, and the Sgraffito tool was used to make the lines of the web. The spooky surprise I did was a little candy cane. The underglazes I used were teal and electric blue, and I selected those because I didn't want to do a normal orange pumpkin, so I just went with 2 different shades of blues. The challenging thing about this project was trying to connect the 2 pinch pots together. It was difficult to make sure the part where the pots were connected didn't show. And the most successful aspect of this work is the extra details I added to my pumpkin. I would say that it made the pumpkin look great. The fourth project that we worked on was the Jamon Coil Cup. An interesting fact about them is that their pots and cups were discovered through rainfall. Pottery from the Jamon people relates to this project because it is similar to how some of their projects were. Some tips I would say to create coils is to make sure your clay isn't dry, therefore it doesn't crack when you try to shape it. I planned my coil cup by first deciding how I wanted the cup to look. I also practiced coils with the bingo we did. The designs that I chose were spirals, circles, squares, and lines. I chose these because I didn't want to make them too hard to build, and I know it would give me a good height. The most challenging part about this project was trying to build my cup and to make sure my spirals didn't dry up. The most successful thing about this project was the glazing of my cup. The fifth and final project was a slab-built house. What inspired the architectural feature of my house was Google. I just searched up gingerbread houses and a Disney one popped up, so I chose to do that. The stage the clay was at before we assembled was leather hard. The kind of joints that were used to assemble the house pieces were welding coils. The tools I used to create the template details on my house were the shape cutters. I can't light my house from within because I added a base to the house. The glazes I selected were red, green, brown, white, and iron. I selected these because they were all Christmas colors. The challenging thing about this project was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for the house. I kept switching back and forth between ideas. The most successful thing about this project was the construction of the house. It came out strong and secure. And here are my conclusion questions. The most successful out of all my projects, I would say, is a name tile. I think it came out the most successful because the glazing came out great and all my parts were nice and smooth. The most challenging project I did was the Jamon Coil Cup. I would say it was the hardest because the building up of each design took a long time. It was also difficult to make sure there were no gaps in the cup. The project that I would like to rework was my slab-built house because all the details I added to the base fell off when it was bone dry. My favorite project was the pumpkin. It was fun to be able to make a surprise to put in the pumpkin, and carving out the face of the pumpkin was fun. The most valuable thing I learned this semester is use your time wisely and to make sure all of your projects are slipped and scored correctly. One goal I want to work on toward next semester is my glazing skills.